Welcome back to Salam Media, your home of humanitarian journalism. My name is Shabnam Palesa Mohamed, a stand-in host for news and views today. And our next guest is going to be Mariam Jooma Çarikçi, and we're talking about why the People's TRC matters. So Mariam was a presenter and a participant in an X space that we held last night, talking about solidarity from Sudan to Congo to Palestine and why the People's TRC matters. That's the People's Truth and Restoration Commission. And her contribution was so incredibly valuable in this event last night that, of course, we invited her to join us again on Salam Media this morning. Mariam, welcome to the show. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Walaikum salam, Shabnam. Jazakallah for having me.
It's wonderful to have you here. Mariam is, of course, an independent analyst, an author, and a researcher. Mariam, last night, you shared some very valuable insights when you talked about the old TRC or the post-apartheid Truth and Reconciliation Commission and where it perhaps didn't meet the objectives that South African society needed at that time, which included restoration. We know that reparations was largely a failure, but we also know that truth and justice go hand in hand. And in order to arrive at peace, truth and justice must be the doors through which we go through. Please, can you share some of the reflections that you did last night on the apartheid era People's TRC, and then we'll talk about People's TRC.
Jazakallah, Shabnam. It was such an honor to be a part of that panel last night. We have such prolific activists and thinkers. And I think in South Africa, we perhaps undermine the resources, the people's resources that we have. So I just want to thank you for again including me. But coming to your question of, the overview of the South African TRC, I think, what it did at the time was important. It allowed for people to basically have a cathartic experience. Yet, in hindsight, when we look back and try to measure the impact of such truth-telling on the substantive and let's say the meaningful difference to people's lives, especially those who were directly affected by the crimes of apartheid, we see that the TRC really falls short. And in essence, it falls short because the scope and its actual mandate was so limited to gross human rights abuses. And it said explicitly that is what its focus was going to be on. And I think that already is the first lesson that the People's TRC can learn from, and that is that we cannot individualize violence, right? So we can't remove it or decontextualize it from the greater system of injustice. So apartheid was a living body or a living system using legal frameworks of discrimination that impacted upon people's lives in every single way, from the time you're born until where you would be buried was determined by apartheid laws. And yet the TRC focused on, as we say, individual crimes. So it looked at the trauma of families, of people who lost loved ones, and it focused on the way in which people were killed, activists were tortured, and so on. Very, very important, of course. But in the way it was presented, it almost provided a spectacle of grief. And, we were all moved, of course, to see Archbishop Desmond Tutu, also breaking down, many of the commissioners breaking down, hearing the testimonies. And in some way, it offered a sense of visibility to an entire population that were rendered invisible by apartheid. And yet that visibility, in my view, and of course, there would be other academics and practitioners who might disagree, but in my view, that visibility basically provided a soft landing for the lack of meaningful justice. Um, so,
So, Mariam, one of the expressions that you used yesterday, which really got my attention, was liberal peace processes. Talk to us about what that means within the context of the apartheid or post-apartheid TRC.
So yes, liberal peace processes, I think, in the way in which I used it last night was basically to emphasize, again, as other speakers have also suggested, that we cannot exclude the political economy. So a liberal peace process works on essentially the idea that people come to the party in agreement, cessation of hostilities, and there's certain conditions that will be met. In our case, it was the idea of having, a non-racial or uh, non-racial government and cyclical elections. But what that does not address is the privilege of the Western legal framework. And it also excludes corporate and external power. So when I say the legal framework, I mean that, we tend to forget very conveniently that there are alternative systems of governance, not just in terms of crimes against humanity, but in every other area as well. Land regulation, the management of water and so on. They are indigenous forms of law as such that have been completely eradicated by the colonial beast, but also by our intellectual colonization, which suggests that there are no alternatives. So basically, I think what the People's TRC can be is not a replacement for legal accountability, but a corrective and complementary way of naming what we consider to be violence. So dispossession is violence. It's not an administrative issue of willing seller, willing buyer compensation. It is violence, and that is, I think, those are the points that People's TRC can help to highlight, and offer, ordinary South Africans a way of understanding what it means to be free. What does freedom really mean?
That's such an important question. What does freedom really mean? I think we'll take a quick ad break and we'll come back to that topic and dive deeper into the People's TRC with Mariam Jooma Çarikçi, an independent analyst, a researcher, and an author, right here with us on News and Views on Salam Media.
Salam Media. World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic, Sharia, and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings from short-term to life and investments. A full-service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
There are over 200 million orphans globally. We can't help all of them, but what if we each helped just one? The Al Imdad Foundation now gives you an opportunity to help just one orphan from Syria or Palestine. For just 500 Rand per month, you can help safeguard the dignity of an orphan by assisting them with basic needs such as food, clothing, shelter, medical care, and attention. Our orphan sponsorship program allows you to track the progress of your orphan through regular feedback. Make a difference in the life of an orphan today. Visit alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and free zakat calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
Searching for elite local and international investment and advisory services from an award-winning firm? Look no further than the Belmont Mayer Group, your gateway to unparalleled investment and wealth management. At Belmont Mayer, we believe in the art of wealth creation, a meticulous process fueled by our unwavering commitment to excellence. With a focus on providing elite alternative investments and quality advice, we also pride ourselves on maximizing value for our esteemed investors, as seen through our consistent outperformance. Your financial success is our top priority. Join us at Belmont Mayer and experience the difference firsthand. Ready to embark on a journey of greatness? Contact us today. Reach out to the Belmont Mayer Group on 078 786 1698. Call or WhatsApp or email us at info@belmontmayer.com. Elevate your financial future with Belmont Mayer, where every detail matters.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media.
لا تقل لي وحدي أو كيف السبيل.
Humanity sets the agenda.
Welcome back to Salam Media, your home of humanitarian journalism on News and Views. You're with Shabnam, Palesa, Mohamed standing in. And now we're talking to Mariam, Jooma, Çarikçi about the People's TRC and why it matters. So Mariam was a guest speaker and participant on an event we hosted last night. Very painful, very powerful, and it was focused on the People's TRC. I wonder if we could bring that poster up, Kolani, where you can see the different participants in this event last night. We had about 10 different speakers, and we held a space on the X platform, which crashed a few times. Surprise, surprise. In particular, when speakers like Mariam and Patrick Bond were talking and sharing their insights on some very perhaps controversial topics to people who benefit from the status quo. But we're not about the status quo. We're about changing the world into the kind of communities we want to live in. Mariam, let's bring you back into conversation. When you reflect on the messages that we heard from Sister Rasha from Sudan, of Sister Mariam from Congo, what thoughts came to mind as to emphasizing why this People's TRC process is so important in connecting the struggles of Palestine, Sudan, Congo, but later other countries, and also other issues such as gender-based violence, poverty, xenophobia, and other issues that face us as a country and the world?
Absolutely, Shabnam. You know, the thing is, we often speak about how social media has transformed our ways of receiving and transmitting information, and that actually we've become so extremely, where the war zones and the battlegrounds are so easily accessible, and yet there's an almost a stagnant movement or lack of movement in terms of what we do about those situations. And I think that's exactly what our speakers, Sister Rasha and Mariam, emphasized, that, you know, there are documented and very detailed documented evidence of what's been going on in Sudan and, of course, in Palestine and the Congo. And yet there is very little activism or even, interest. And in my view, I think what's happening there is that we are focused again on the spectacle. And the phrase, the pornography of violence has often been used in contexts of war, especially within in Africa, because you have Western media and even our own, and I think we have to be honest about the fact that South African media is largely Western in orientation and its form of reporting. That the People's TRC offers, as also Sister Miriam had said, it offers a platform for voices, but also emphasizes dignity. And this is a very important point that I think is often overlooked. The idea that these are not just numbers and people don't just represent, one within a mass, but these are individuals who have their stories, but they are also dignified. And we should move away from the shock value of personal testimonies and link it to the suffering that is systematic. So what we want is not just sympathy. We want actually a way of correcting what is the humanitarian view of war, to looking at the media and its economies of pain that leave power untouched. So I think
Absolutely.
these structural linkages, particularly when it comes to land extraction and militarization, those three aspects, are very visible in all three contexts of Sudan, Congo, and Palestine. And that's where solidarity that's grounded, not just in sentiment. It's not just we are all for each other because we're human, which is, of course, the starting point, but that we are all enmeshed in what is essentially one system of exploitation. And the quicker we're able to educate the public about this, about how these struggles are connected, I think the better for us to achieve a breakthrough in terms of breaking through the apathy, because that's also what Sister Miriam spoke about. The idea that they're not allowed to speak of their pain, that it's almost a taboo to mention the fact that you are fleeing a war zone.
Absolutely. I mean, I want to read and reflect on one of the messages that she had shared after the space that we had last night on X. And she said, "We need more voices to be heard. We've been silenced for far too long. That's why the People's TRC matters, because it centers those voices that are too often erased. It reminds us that justice does not begin with institutions or political permission, but with people telling their truths, preserving memory, and refusing to let suffering be normalized." And I thought that was such a powerful contribution, Mariam Posho from Congo, on the People's TRC. Indeed, we are going to hear testimony from victims, or as I prefer to say, survivors, but also from allies, experts, whistleblowers, and perpetrators within very specific circumstances and criteria. It's not enough to just come and say sorry. We want the truth, we want the evidence of wrongdoing, and we want to know what you're willing to do to restore to the victim or the survivor the dignity, the human rights, the destruction that they have suffered. How are you going to fix that? How are you going to heal it? We're also going to engage in processes of dialogue with, for example, representatives from Palestine, Sudan, and Congo in conversation with each other. We will have access to counselors and social workers for people who are experiencing trauma in these countries, but also secondary trauma. Those of us who work in this human rights space also experience trauma because we're human, and seeing what people are going through, incredible suffering. And last but certainly not least, the arts. Of course, we often believe the arts is more powerful than politics can ever be. So we will include visual arts, poetry, and film as part of the People's TRC. So, Mariam, in closing, your message to people about why it's important to be a part of something new in the People's TRC, to get involved, to participate, to contribute, to raise awareness about. It's not just a tool or a platform. Indeed, it is a movement of people power. Your message.
100%. And I'm so pleased to hear, about the emphasis on the arts as well. Truly, that is a form of healing, but also because art has been, as many other aspects of kind of social life, has also been compartmentalized into entertainment. And yet we see how art has been pivotal in the political organization in Palestine, and how poetry has inspired, the movement of resistance. But essentially, if I can give you just a closing summary, what I believe the the People's TRC represents is basically, I think, its refusal to turn this awful and horrendous suffering into spectacle, but that it actually treats land and dispossession and extraction as central crimes, and that it must be willing to confront corporate power and ultimately to reclaim truth as a tool for restoring dignity and sovereignty rather than just for managing pain.
Mhm. Thank you very much, Mariam. Jooma Çarikçi. You'll certainly be participating in the preparation of the People's TRC, but also in the actual hearings. We're very grateful to have connected with you through Salam Media, of course. Take care, Mariam. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much, Shabnam. Walaikum salam.
Fantastic conversation there with Mariam Jooma Çarikçi. We're going to take an ad break. When we come back, stay tuned to Salam Media's YouTube channel, also live streaming on Facebook. We're talking to Tumi Sol, Country Duty, about AfriForum, imperialism, and the Cape exit agenda. You don't want to miss that.